At this point, I am going to ask which of you in the group took control of the talisman that you were given. There was a talisman that was given to the group by the guild master of the Adventurers Guild that is a heavy-set clay with arcane runes on the back of two pieces of obsidian that are set in a deer hoof pattern. There are also druidic runes across the top and a very specific seal of a new moon with horns. So, who was it who ended up with the talisman? Because it is an item that requires attunement.
Well, it feels natural that the druid would end up being the last one taking a good look at it.
Okay.
I was going to volunteer arbor, so
Yeah.
I was gonna be like, I feel like this is an arbor vibe.
I handed it to the druid.
It's not something that I went out of my way to grab as much as it was put into my hands, and that's the last place it was seen.
Excellent.
We don't know what
Alrighty.
happened to it after that point.
Very good. Do you still have access to that item?
I do, yes.
Perfect. So pull that up. And if you would please describe what that talisman does.
So a small circular clay talisman intended to be worn as a pendant marked with runes along the top edge and with two polished pieces of obsidian in the shape of a deer hoof print. To the keen eye, arcane symbols glint through from the back of the obsidian. So once attuned, this talisman bestows advantage on any survival checks regarding navigation through an area that is kept wilderness, meaning there are people or entities in charge of the space who know and travel the area. So feels very fitting that Arborus is the one who has taken to this talisman, right? While holding this talisman flat in front of you as one might a compass, you can use an action to determine the next place along the trail to your destination. This property functions only on the material plane in regions with wardens, marked trails, or curated grounds. If you are attuned to the item and holding it to face away from you, you can speak its command word and cause it to emanate the Druidcraft cantrip, commonly used to mark trails for future travelers.
So there you are. Since we are now in the table, let's do your attunement check. You may choose either survival, nature, arcana, or religion, and you have a DC 12 to attune to the talisman. Yes, Oliver.
Sorry, I'm from the academies. I'm always raising my hand, right? I'm
I love
used to it. So, I was wondering, would I be allowed to roll my portent rolls now? Because I do it like every end of a long rest.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I rolled the wrong die. I just clicked religion.
You made it.
Great.
All right. So those are open custom rolls, Oliver. Can you tell me what those are from offhand?
Oh, that's for my portent. So,
Yes.
that is from the divination thingy, right?
Mhm.
So, at any point, I can like replace a roll with one of those.
Right.
I see
Yes,
the
thank you.
future.
Yes. So those are your available reroll numbers for later.
Yes.
Perfect. Excellent. So, Arbor takes a moment to sit with the talisman as you guys are having a short rest. Well, not a short rest, but you are taking a moment to recalibrate on the trail. And um, you take a moment to focus on the religious emblem at the top of the talisman. And as you take that time to attune, you feel sort of a mantle fall on you for a moment that feels like that kind of heavy mist that can sit in the trees in the morning before the sunlight makes its way into the forest floor. And there is a very soft sense in your mind of a voice whispering, "Follow." And as you look down at the talisman again, you notice kind of like if there's a bubble in a compass, that as you move around the talisman, there seems to be a glowing light that is pointing down the trail. It doesn't matter which way you turn it. It is always pointing down the trail the way that you were going, the direction that you were going, up towards the village that like dances around on the obsidian. All right. With that, I would like Callum to make one more survival check. Very nice. You continue upward, Callum, leading the group or guiding the group, and you are now headed up into the peaks of the lower mountains. You're still well within the tree line, but as you move up in this last stretch, you are able to see points within your vision amid the dense trees where the tree line is. And as you curve on the path off to the left, you are able to start to hear the sounds of civilization again.
Do we see anything? It's just the sounds right now. We haven't quite crested, and
Yeah, you still have peaks that are kind of up
sure,
around you, but you can see where the path is about to like cut through those peaks, and you can start to hear the sounds of people moving around and animals and things like that.
sure. So I think probably would make sense to kind of sit at the peak, find kind of that high point, make sure we can sit and confer, make sure we get a lay of the land, so to speak, so we don't just rush in headlong into wherever this village is. So have that be the next. Assume again, working with Arbor on the directions, right? As long as that's still on the path with the talisman, sit there and try and look down into the village.
Yep. The talisman seems to be pointing you in the same direction as the path. It does seem to continue in that direction. Edward, would you please roll me a d4?
Gladly. My D4 does not want to work. I'm going to open up my other thing. Sorry.
I've noticed that I've had to select the die and then click the dialog.
All right. D4, you say, right? Okay. That's a 3.
A 3. Alrighty. It seems that the winds have shifted again, and it is now quite clear that the weather is again moving in towards the peak. One of the things that you were noticing that as you look out away from the valley where the audible sounds of people are coming from, there is a bit of a mist moving in through the trees, which you seem to remember hearing something about. And it is quite heavy for what does not seem like necessarily misty weather.
Yeah, Edwards, if the mist is going towards them a little bit, if that's the way that you're describing it, Edward's
Mhm.
immediately going to take just a few steps back. He's not frightened of it, but he's definitely caught off guard. I would say he gets the attention of the rest of the group and then just points to the mist and says, "Does anything about this look a little off? I don't want to touch it. I'd rather not touch it, but I want to make sure I'm not seeing things. Does this look normal?"
Would I
Well,
be able to tell if it's natural fog or if there's something?
Make me a survival roll, please. And everyone in the group can make me an Arcana, a survival, or a nature check should you wish to.
I shall wish to.
That was a lot of Arcana checks.
The
I love it.
bookworms.
in my defense, all of those are +1 for me. So
Excellent. So for the survival check from Kellum, the weather isn't right for this. Like you can see where the weather pattern is sitting, and there is something off about the way the mist is advancing the weather. Um, you can't quite place it, but something is different.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, like it looks like a heavy fog. You know that stepping into that was going to be challenging. But the way that it's interacting with the storm front is
Yeah,
off.
it looks like fog should, but I can't. I can relate to the group, right? It looks like normal fog, but this isn't
Yeah.
when or how this should be showing up, right? This
Yeah.
is not. It's an unnatural occurrence of natural looking fog.
Yeah. Arbor, with your 6, you are able to like notice the fog, and there is something about it that's odd. It doesn't look like the misty fog that you're used to, but you can't place the difference. There's something about it, but you can't quite figure it out. For those of you with my Arcana checks, which is the rest of you, you look out into the fog, and there's just the slightest movement that's a slightly different color of gray in the fog. Looks like not quite tendrils. There's something more to it. And Oliver, you take an extra moment to look at it with your total 20 roll. And you can see that those tendrils start to form slight, ancient arcane runes. And then you blink and they disappear.
Maybe it's time to go back to the library, guys. You wanna?
Oh, certainly not.
Already.
I'm
It's
kidding.
incredible. I don't know what
Yeah,
it is, but we have to keep going.
Oh, pish
Do
posh,
I-
we press on.
Yes,
Do
what
I
she
have
says.
any idea as to what that is?
Make me either a history roll or a religion roll, Oliver, but only you. You have studied ancient runes, but the Academy's like access to in-depth information on ancient runes was fair to middling at best. You know that you have seen things that are adjacent to this. And from what you can remember of the moment you had to like kind of figure out what was there, you know that you've seen like derivative charts that show the evolution of ancient runes into modern runes. And there have been runes that are related to the ones that you got a glimpse of, but you cannot remember them enough to decipher exactly what they were or what they might point to.
Man, maybe Mom was right. Maybe I should have studied harder.
You're young. You've got plenty of years ahead of you to keep studying.
Thank you, friend. But maybe after the adventure first, right?
Oh, always. In your downtime, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's next?
Sir Blip is just like unafraid and is just gonna start trudging into the mist. Like, zero cares in the world.
In for clarity's sake, the mist is away from the
Oh.
village. So like you were on the
Oh.
trail, the mist is that way, the village is that way.
My mistake.
So
I thought
did
it
you
was
want to
like
tromp
in
off
our-
into the mist?
No, I thought it was in
Okay.
our path to said village.
No, it is becoming behind you and to the
Oh.
sides.
Interesting. Okay.
So for
She's just gonna
anything-
keep trudging along the path, not a care in the world.
Okay.
Same
For anything
vibes.
about the
Just correct,
village
incorrect direction.
that
Kellen?
stood out.
Was there
From
anything
where we're
about the
at
village? So
itself that we
where
can
you
see?
are, because you like went up to the peak of that little crest, right? The thing that stands out the most about the village is that you are very aware that you are out in the wilds. And this is possibly the most civilized location that you have ever seen in the middle of a mountain range. You look out into this little basin at the bottom of the well known mountain peak, the peak of the Ashfold Caldera. And nobody seems to talk about the fact that there's a little village here and a bustling population of people. But here it is. Why did nobody tell anybody that there was a whole population of people here?
Okay.
Arbor, you feel a tug at your neck.
Oh, that's peculiar. What is that? Is it the need to put on this amulet, or is this fog
Oh,
related?
you weren't wearing
Oh,
it? Were you holding it in your hand?
I was hesitant to ever put it on.
Okay.
I've been.
If you were holding it, then it would pull in your hand.
I see.
I had the assumption that you would have put on the pendant. Apologies.
Oh no, we're still full compass mode.
Okay. So then you feel a little nudge, a pull in your hand from the talisman.
And this is toward.
Yeah. toward the
path,
village,
toward
down
the
the path, yeah.
village.
Or rather,
Well,
kind of up and then over.
right. Well, I think this is a sign we ought to try and get to this village, or at least continue making our way before this fog rolls in.
Blep, I feel like, is already like 20 feet ahead of it. It's like, come on, catch up!
I love this.
Go with the
Ready to go.
sigh
So-
and trot on.
Excellent. All right. So Blep soldiers on into the valley. And the rest of you are trailing behind. Who is the last one down into the valley? Out of the 5 of you.
I'm inclined to say it's the one that's not used to wearing shoes.
Alrighty. So as you all head down into the valley,
Yeah.
Oliver takes a moment to look back behind him, and strangely, you notice that as the mist continues to move in, you start to see almost a hard line along the ground where the mist stops, and there are just these small little wisps that break away from it. And it continues up, but it's easiest to see at ground level.
Only at ground level, right?
Right. Like
Can I-
there's a stop to it, like all the way kind of up, and it kind of bows over a little bit. But the easiest place to discern that it's kind of come to a hard stop is along the ground, where you get a nice
Right.
contrast between the ground and this wall of fog.
I don't know a lot about nature, but I don't think that's normal.
That seems
Sir
fake.
Blep, Sir Blep,
Yes.
you are well in advance of the rest of your compatriots now,
Mhm.
and you have gotten down the embankment, and you are starting to feel just the warmth and the activity of this village. There are people who are calling out to one another, smiling to one another. There are farmers who are carrying large baskets into what looks like a market square. There are large, beautifully established buildings. There are more rustic homes. There are homes that are made out of exquisitely carved stone. And there are lots of landmarks and people of all ages and creed and color. There are folk of every kind that you can imagine here among the adventuring races. And there is just a bustling life around you.
Mhm.
If you would please make me a perception check.
Sure. I would also like to add the addendum while I make said perception check that as Sir Blep is heading down the mountain, she's stopping every 5 to 10 feet or so, and in true corgi fashion is looking over her shoulder and then yelping out some kind of word of encouragement, like "Almost there! So put some pep in your step!" Just as she goes down the mountain.
Amazing.
Perception check, you said, correct?
Yes.
If I may
Something
add something
semi-decent
very
at.
short.
Mm-hmm.
I like to imagine Sir Blep just moving at her very, very quick little pace.
Yes.
And for every like 6 steps, it's
Yes.
like 2 for Edward. But the moment he catches up, Sir Blep is already going. So
Yes.
Edward is kind of like, this is incredible. But
Kind of like
what?
half sprints.
Yeah. I love
Real
the
thing.
image in my head.
That's why you're in the middle, because like it's very easy to overtake if you're not careful with the long strides.
So, Sir Blep, you are looking around in the area, and 2 things catch your attention. in all of the homes, you will notice that there is either affixed to the door frame or in the windows, there is some kind of deer iconography. So either there is a plaster deer print that has been put up in like decorative woven branches, or there are fallen horns that have been woven into like a bough. But there are deer iconography on just about every home. And the other thing is that you notice that there is a disproportionate amount of obsidian ware that's just around. People are wearing it in their hair, in bracelets or hair sticks, in a way to decorate their hair or beards. People are utilizing obsidian tools, and people are carrying water in obsidian vessels. So it's just around a lot in this area.
She just mutters to herself, "Oh dear, they truly do love their obsidian here." Turns and like waits for the group to catch up, and she's just like waving to them excitedly and like, "We're definitely here. We found the correct place. Now we just need to find the constable." And just yelling that very loudly, waiting for everyone to catch up. And as soon as they're close enough, she's going to accost the nearest stranger and just go, "Hello, yes, excuse me. My name is Sir Bactricia Luscious Evelina Poplopicus III, and these are my companions, and we are looking for your town constable. Where can we find them?"
Hello. Yeah, they happen to be over in the hut near the wood's edge. If you go that direction, I think that's who you're looking for. Is a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise. And what was your name?
Amethyst.
Hello, Amethyst. Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for your help. And she's just gonna start scurrying away. She's very goal oriented.
I love
Almost
this. It's so good.
as we're going through town, right? As you
Mhm.
said, like I'm not gonna I won't say anything, but just like in my mind, you said like I know this doesn't fit. Something isn't right. This is weird to have this much development this far in the mountain. So kind of on edge or a little bit more
Mhm.
cautious, like not overly, but kind of moving with a lot more attention to what's happening around him, just trying to see if anything stands out.
Yeah.
I think Edward, I don't think he's that much on the cautious side, but he's definitely not super excited. The only other village he's really known is his own home, which was not a bad village per se, but it was very isolated even within itself. So to see so many people chatting so happily and nilly-willy and doing all they have to do, he's kind of like, there's something here. Either I'm missing something or there's something here. But then he sees the group just doing a beeline. He's like, oh, I cannot stop. Okay. And he's
Yeah.
kind of
And
like, well,
especially
he's
for
not an
Edward,
exercising.
there's a familiarity in the way that this village is very much isolated from the rest of the world, and there's a very dissonant tone in the way that they seem generally welcoming to people that
Yeah.
they've never seen before.
Yeah.
Oliver, you have a question or a comment?
Oh, so the thing with the fog, I
Yes.
feel truly has creeped me out because I've never seen anything like it. Right?
Okay.
I haven't even read anything about it. It's extra creepy, right? Because I feel like I've read it all. So as we're walking, I'm casting detect magic as a ritual,
Mhm.
and because my head can like turn like 270 degrees, right?
Right.
So I'm just like, anything coming? Yeah,
So,
that's about it.
as a ritual, that's gonna take 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. So, as you continue on with the group, you are casting detect magic,
Mhm.
and I will give you that information. in just a moment. I'm trying to remember, does detect magic do anything more than be like, here's magic and here's the school?
So it says that I sense the
Because it's been a sec.
presence of magic within like 30 feet.
Okay.
So it manifests like a faint aura around like creatures or objects or whatever. I don't think it. Oh yeah. Oh sorry. I do learn the school of magic, and it
Okay.
can penetrate like barriers and whatnot. About like a foot of stone and 3 feet of wood or dirt.
Okay. So as you all continue up towards the constable's home, Oliver, as the ritual comes to fruition, and it's kind of going to coalesce for you over this time because it doesn't take you a full 10 minutes to walk across the village, really. Um, you are going to kind of get this like growing glow around you. Um, and you are going to realize that you are, in fact, surrounded by magic. Magic is very subtle, but very prevalent here. Every piece of all of the talismans that are up in the windows, those are all some form of druidic magic, some form of other nature magic. There are many, many pieces of obsidian that are enchanted in some way. Some of them have very subtle, very tiny magic on them. Some of them have a little bit more magic to them. But on top of all of that, you get a sense that there is a very old religious magic in this area that just radiates from the ground. So
Um,
the group walks up to the constable's home, and you see sitting out in front of a very rustic building a half elf woman with shoulder length blonde hair who is currently tending to one of the short swords that she carries. She has a whetstone out and is tending to the blade as Oliver has this sudden realization of how saturated the world is right now.
I would like to grab onto my nearest party member. And I'm like,
Which would be me.
ah, talk in private. And then
Okay.
I just like panically whisper, everything here is magic. It's everywhere. Are you feeling any of this? There's like something very old and I think druidic. So like, I think you're that person to ask, right? Like, what is happening? Can you feel any of this?
Yes, I feel it all. It's gonna be okay, my feathery friend.
Are you sure? Because like,
Yes. Calm down. Shh, don't make a scene. We don't want to draw any attention to ourselves, but I'm feeling it as well.
okay.
Could I have a quick perception? What's everybody's passive perception, please?